Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to my home studio, and welcome to a scratch guitar build. I'm in the process of taking some wood and turning it into a multi-scale Electro acoustic, I hope, career-defining guitar. Burn it. Haha, yay! Today we are moving on to the body, which is going to be very, very interesting. I have a few little bits and pieces to do. I'm going to sort out the circular truss rod cover, which, as at least half a dozen of you mentioned in the comments below last week, will of course have little magnets holding it in place. And I need to do the side inlays, which are going to be steel and mother of pearl, because why not? Well, because the sterling silver I have is just a little bit too small to go around the mother of pearl, to be honest. Anyway, enough talk. Let us get on with some action. Yeah, I mean, it's now 20 past 2 in the afternoon. I've spent most of the morning either on the phone to Crimson HQ dealing with the new kit guitar that is being launched, has just been launched. Fanfret Uncut Kit is now available at Crimson Guitars. And trying to figure out my next steps with this. I think I've got it figured. So last week I cut out a truss rod cover to match the 12th fret inlay. We're going to try something that was suggested in the comments, and that is to essentially turn it into a moon just coming out of an eclipse. So the thought was an ebony ring, at least initially. But I think what I'm going to do is make it a little bit more subtle than that and glue this original section of maple back on after maybe inlaying in a little partial eclipse, something like that. Now, this entire instrument is going to have a purpley, bluey, blacky, silver kind of a nebula stain, so you will still be able to see all of the gorgeous burl, but I think we'll leave this natural and see where we go. I've lost track of how many times I've used a circle template. It's official. I desperately need a new bandsaw. This is not good enough. Give me suggestions in the comments below of what you think I should get. The biggest issue I've got with this one is that the table appears to be held on by a single bolt, and you just can't set it up properly. It's insane. Black super glue, the best thing ever. Okay. While I've been doing that, I've been thinking about the next step, and quite frankly, I think that a ring of silver would be more in keeping with the whole galactic look and feel. That's essentially, we've got a moon eclipsing a planet, and behind the planet we've got a sun, and that's the silver lining, maybe with a lens flare. I am going to cut a 28mm hole in this aluminium, glue this beastie into that, then cut a 30mm circle out of that, and then we will see where we're at. That's so fun. I got nothing, I'm done. I'm calling it a night, and let the build commence again in the morning. Side dots. I am going to be installing stainless steel tube with mother of pearl dots inside the tube. That gives us two refraction indexes, I suppose. Two different materials that are going to reflect light at different angles and different places, etc., which will make this better. It's fairly straightforward, and well, there we go. Drill some holes, stick some stuff in, be done. Woohoo. It's 3mm. Always put your tools away, saves time later. The process of installing these side dot inlays is three or four stages. Initially, a thin-walled stainless steel tube is installed into a 3mm hole using the black superglue. That is hit with accelerator, and after it's cured, cut away and oh poop. That looks good. Okay. So essentially the distance between the teeth on that saw blade is wider than the wall of the tube, therefore it's just sticking. To do this with a hacksaw, it just crumples. It's not good anyway. If you use a hacksaw to cut this away, when you're halfway through, the hacksaw is cutting against two walls and it chatters and crumples, and it's just not ideal, especially if the teeth are larger than the walls of the tube. So I use very, very fine jeweler's blades, and it works very well. It's a perfect tool for cutting thin-walled tube. I then drill out with a 2mm drill bit to give space for my mother of pearl. And the mother of pearl is installed again using black superglue, and it is filed back, sanded, and we have an inlay. Well, there we go. Boop. Oh, come on. I dropped 2 inlays during that. That was a bit silly. Okay, and we have an inlay. Inlay's done. So I do have other work to be doing on this neck. I need to sand the whole thing down. There's going to be some nice carving going on in this area, and I have been asked for a raised version of our logo on the headstock. I am not going to do that now, though. We are 8 episodes in, and it's all been about the neck. Any complaints? I hope not. Yes, I could do this in one 15-minute video. I really could. But what would be the point in that? Anyway, okay, on to the body. Now, I have a template that we made earlier. This is the shape. I have a couple of pieces of stunning burl maple, and then he said poplar. This is not poplar. That's what the original nebula was. Relatively flexible. I need to process these down, and initially I'm going to hand plane them. Thickness, hand plane. I don't really need to hand plane. I'm just going to get a sander. There we go. Random orbital sander. I'm going to sand them flush up to 240 grit or maybe 320 grit. It's going to throw dust everywhere, but you know, this is what it is. This is one of the most beautiful pieces of wood I have ever experienced. I could just get lost in this. Yeah, I'm going to have to work really hard to do this material justice. Let's see where this thing ends up, eh? And then once that is done, I'm going to masking tape and superglue trick them to this template. And very carefully and gently, I'm going to bring the front and the back to size on the router table with a good bearing cutter. This does make me think about the fact that I'm going to be bending the top over in this angle. Any of you worried that that was going to break? I was, now that I'm thinking about it, semi-worried about that. And that's going to slightly affect the width, make it just a little bit narrower, but not enough to worry about. So I am going to bring these down to final size. And I suppose while I've been saying this, you've been watching me do it. Fantastic. On with the ISO tunes. Crimson 10, use the code. On with the ISO tunes and the dust and the work. I'm looking forward to a change of pace. Ooh, change of pace. This video is going live on Saturday. Check out midweek next week, Wednesday. I'm starting a whole new project. I know what you guys want. You want guitar building. So I'm going to have 2 guitars on the go at any one time, because what I want is some variety in my life. When you spend 7 episodes making a neck, it would be good to move on to a totally unrelated build. And yeah, that is the plan. Now, there are several things. The router table is locked in place so that it's not going to move. This is something that happens with regularity. You need to be absolutely certain your router cutter and therefore the bearings are not going to slip and slide and therefore cut into places you don't want it to cut into. Seriously, be paranoid about this. Protection, isotunes. I am going to be listening to tunes while I'm isolating my hearing. I suppose that's why they called it isotunes. And yes, the eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that my bandsaw cuts are half a centimetre or more away from the edge. When you're routing like this, you really do want it to be as close as possible. I am confident that I'm basically going to not take it in one pass. I'm going to just feather my way around. I should have cut the excess away, to be honest. The smaller the cut you're taking on the router, the less likely you are to mess it up. But here we go. So the router is running along the template, and I will end up with a perfect top in the end, which is going to be fantastic. I am incredibly happy with this. We have a few parts where there's going to be some remedial action taken. I'm going to have to stick a fresh piece of wood in there, but again, this is incredibly figured and burly wood. The grain is all over the place, so that will be invisible, and that is also why I was confident that I would be able to go. When you're routing something, you want to go with the grain rather than against it, and wherever I was routing on this one, I was, well, it was a 50-50. Are you going to be going with or against? There's no way to tell. So I just went all the way around with the router table. With a standard straight-grained perfect body blank, I would route downhill and downhill and downhill, and then flip it over, put the bearing on the other side of the wood, and then, or in this case, use a different bearing cutter, and then go around on the other side, thus going downhill. If you don't understand that, then I'm not doing my job very well, which is possibly the case. Anyway, I'm going to call this done for now. I am still racking my brains as to exactly how I am going to create this instrument. But next week, well, I'm going to start building the body. It's gonna be something special. The neck is gonna be glued to that, which means all of this is gonna be carved and lovely because it's gonna be visible. I'm going to be starting on the sides. I'm going to be bending wood, and yeah, well, we'll see. Do not forget, Wednesday, a new series is starting. From now on, I'm going to be doing a kit build midweek and a scratch build on Saturdays because I fancy it. Anyway, thank you for your support. Click like, subscribe, and yeah, keep well. Keep well. Yeah. See you soon. Goodbye.